Hi guys, today we will be comparing the deck Into the Lonely Woods by Lucy Cavendish and Dan May with the deck Gentle Creatures Wisdom Deck by Dan May. Now some of the immediate differences you can see is obviously there is a size difference in the decks. This one here, the Gentle Creatures Wisdom Deck, is a 2021 deck by US Game Systems, and this is a 2022 deck by Blue Angel. However, I was able to get this deck because it was released earlier in Australia. I was able to get this deck in 2021. So both decks are printed in China, and the Into the Lonely Woods deck has been designed in Australia. So without further ado, we shall have a look and compare the two decks. First of all, we will start with the guidebooks for each deck. So the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck guidebook is by Arwen Lynch Poe and the artwork's by Dan May. As I said earlier, the box only says Dan May, so I'm not sure why Arwen isn't noted on that. So the guidebook is 65 pages long. It opens up with an introduction and it goes straight into the Gentle Creatures cards. Now each card runs one after the other. They're roughly a page and a half each in the descriptions, and they're quite interesting descriptions in the fact that they give you enough information to springboard from, but you could definitely dive a bit deeper yourself if you wanted. Now they offer up two spreads. So one is the Gentle Creature spread, which is a 5-card spread, and the other one is a priority spread, which is a 4-card spread. So that is the guidebook for the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck. Into the Lonely Woods guidebook is a little bit longer at 103 pages. So when we open that up, we have a table of contents, which we didn't see in the Gentle Creatures Wisdom guidebook, and it explains the cards to you. So again, we have an introduction to the deck, and the introduction is quite a number of pages long. We then have how to work with your cards. It tells you how to bless your cards, what to do before a reading, shuffling and handling your cards, asking a question, choosing a spread. So it gives you a lot of really good information to go along with the deck. Completing your reading, and then 6 steps to sealing your reading, and journaling with your readings. Clearing and cleansing your deck, and it gives you different ways that you can do that. What to do when you have jumping cards, how to read reversals, how to activate reversals in a reading, layouts for you to explore and enjoy, and it talks about a 1 card a day, the Triple Insight spread, which is 3 cards. It talks about the Celtic Cross with Lucy's adaptation, and then it has the card meanings. So we get all the way to page 49 before we begin to get information on the cards meanings. So there's a lot of really great information in here to help you work with the deck to be able to get the most out of it. So in the card readings, we have 1 card per page, and it shows us a black and white image of the card. Now each card in the Into the Lonely Woods deck is actually numbered. It has a whole phrase that goes with it, and then we have the card meaning here and the message. So we get that for every card in the deck. It tells us about the author, and we get a picture of Lucy, and it tells us about the artist, who we also get a picture of, and then it gives us some other decks that are available from Blue Angel Publishings by Lucy Cavendish. So this guidebook is a little bit more robust in the respect that it gives us more information on how to work with the cards, things that we should do to a reading, coming out of a reading, that kind of information, where this one purely gives us an introduction and then the card meanings. So now we will take a look at the actual cards. So as you can see from the boxes, the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck cards fit into the box. whereas the Into the Lonely Woods cards are actually smaller than the box, so the actual guidebook is bigger. So we shall take them out and we shall work our way through the cards. This is the information on the back of the Into the Lonely Woods box. Venture into the lonely woods and find the greatest gift of all, your true self. And this is the back of the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck. Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck. Make new friends with popular artist Dan May's Gentle Creatures. In this atmospheric oracle deck, fuzzy giants invite you to share their wilderness adventures as well as their quiet spaces. One of the first things you'll notice about the cards is that they are different sizes. They both are the same width, but the Into the Lonely Woods card is slightly taller. The other thing that you notice is the Lonely Woods cards are a matte look, where the Gentle Creatures has a slight gloss to them. So they have a completely different feel about them. These ones are a little bit more slippery, and these ones, being matte, don't slip as much. So the other difference that I've noticed, that's the back of the cards for you. So the Gentle Creatures has an image of the Gentle Creatures fur. It has the year 2021 and the USGS logo in here for the US game system on the back of the cards. This one here from Blue Angels has this beautiful flower with the bee in the middle. So they're quite different, and it has a border around it. But when we turn back and we look at the cards, we can see that apart from one being matte and one being a light gloss, they're actually, it's really hard to tell, but they're actually different thicknesses. So this card is, these cards are a lot more thinner and flexible. They're still quite sturdy, but they've just got a lot more give and bounce to them. Where the Into the Lonely Woods cards, these are a lot thicker, they're a lot stronger, completely different feel to them. So I'll go through the decks together. I won't go through every individual card because I don't think it's warranted. I do have a flip through of each deck that you can look at if one deck or the other deck really appeals to you, or if they both do, you can look at both of them. Okay, so now we will compare the cards between the two decks. As you can see, the Into the Lonely Woods cards, they have a number, each card is numbered. They also have a phrase describing the card, and they have a real introspective feel to them. Whereas the Gentle Creatures cards, they have a single word depicting the card, and they have more of a connection feel to them, a warm and comforting and supportive feel. So when reading them, you get the one word to springboard off with the Gentle Creatures, and here you get a whole phrase to be able to feel into. So some of the similarities with the decks obviously is the imagery is by Dan May, so his artwork is phenomenal. It's absolutely emotive. It is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. But what we do see as similarities throughout the deck is the integration of a human girl in different images throughout the deck. She is there, she plays a different kind of role. In the Gentle Creatures, she's more of a connective role. She's interacting with the creatures, she's having fun with them. Whereas in the Into the Lonely Woods deck, she is more of a support person, somebody that's there but not actually interacting with the creatures on the same kind of level, because the creatures in the Into the Lonely Woods deck are more introverted. They're more, you just get the sense of them looking inwards and more reflective and solitary than you do in the Gentle Creatures, where there's more connection and an outward sense. So they're absolutely beautiful cards, as you can see. So one of the other things I wanted to point out with is obviously Dan May has his own art style. and we see things like pumpkins repeating through the decks. We see owls in different images with the decks. We also see there's similar kind of creatures in the decks. But each individual card is completely different. None of them are the same. They're all individual art pieces for each deck. None of them are the same. So they really are beautiful. So as you can see here, the Gentle Creatures has some cards that are in landscape mode. Now the cards are actually stunning. The imagery on them is incredible. But personally, I don't like landscape cards in an oracle deck. That's just my personal preference. I would have preferred that all of the cards were portrait. But here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that are in landscape. And as I said, they're absolutely gorgeous. It's nothing against the actual artwork or anything. It's just my personal preference that I would prefer them to be portrait rather than landscape. So the other difference with the cards is the Into the Lonely Woods is a 45 card deck, where the Gentle Creatures is a 48 card deck. So the main differences for me when I'm choosing which deck to use, if I'm feeling reflective, if I'm in a solitary mood, if I'm looking inward, the Into the Lonely Woods deck is definitely the deck I would use. It is more introspective, it is more inward looking. The images draw you in, which is absolutely fantastic. The Gentle Creatures is a more warming, connecting, uniting deck for me. It has an energy of being supported, having somebody by your side. It's an absolutely beautiful deck. They have very different feel to them and different reasons as to why I would use them. Do I have a favorite deck? I have to say, if I really had to choose, Dan May's artwork is absolutely stunning, but for me, Into the Lonely Woods is the deck that I absolutely prefer. If I had to choose one for a beginner, I really like the fact that the Gentle Creature deck has a single word and the imagery really flows with that. All of the images, regardless of which deck, are very emotive and easy to be able to sense and feel that the message that's coming through. So the Gentle Creatures, I think, is absolutely fabulous to be able to, as a beginner, have one word, not have too much confusion, to be able to understand the message and go through. The fact that the guidebook is not as robust as Into the Lonely Woods, I would probably say Into the Lonely Woods would be definitely my choice. I love the fact that, again, the images are very emotive, they're easy to understand and feel into. The fact that they have the phrase is really great. It does offer a little bit more narrowing down of what it is that the card is telling you, but the guidebook is very robust and I absolutely love that. So if you're a beginner looking to choose which deck, I say either or. They are both very valuable. They could both offer you a lovely deck to work with. If you're like me and you're more of a introvert, I think you would absolutely love Into the Lonely Woods deck. If you're somebody who loves connecting with different people, then obviously the Gentle Creatures definitely hits that spot there. So I guess what I'm saying is I can't choose between the two. If I could only afford one deck, which one would I buy? I would buy the Lucy Cavendish Dan May deck, Into the Lonely Woods. Are they decks I would use on a regular basis? I absolutely believe so. They have different reasons for being used and different energies and atmospheres associated with them. So I think they're both very valuable decks. If I had any criticism, I would have to say that I would have loved the Gentle Creatures Guidebook to be a little bit more robust. I would have liked to have the cards a little bit thicker. Even though these are acceptable, I would have liked to have had it a bit thicker. Oh, the only thing that I didn't mention is that the Gentle Creatures deck is a really rounded deck. It has both positive and negative cards in the response that it reflects all of life. So it's not just positive, positive, positive. The negative cards are presented in a manner that is very supportive and understanding, but very realistic and real.